So I have a date tonight and I want to show you guys my updated makeup routine. My makeup routine has changed a lot. I probably haven't done a makeup video in almost a year on this channel. So I'm going to be showing you guys all the things that I do differently. And the main thing I do differently is we're going for fresh face, light beat, minimal product kind of date makeup. I know I already have a video on here about my date makeup, and I've quite changed my process quite a bit. So enough of me rambling, let's just get into it. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Devin and thank you for coming to visit. Please be sure to subscribe and to hit the bell notification right next to it so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. One thing that hasn't changed is I still believe in primers. I think primers are great and I think everybody should use primer. But I will say I have kind of stepped away from my mattifying primers and have moved over to the more skin-like dewy primers. So with that being said, I'm gonna first use the Dewy Skin Vitamin C Glass Glow Primer. I believe the brand name is Cartier London, so I'm going to go in with a little bit of that. If you're looking at my skin and you're like, dang girl, you glowing already, what you doing makeup for? I actually just finished doing my skincare routine prior to doing my makeup, and it should be the video before this one. So if you're interested on like how I'm looking so far and what I choose to do on my face prior to putting makeup on, there you go. It'll be linked down below and probably at the end of this video. So now that my primer is on, the next thing I'm going to do is actually set my face. I'm going to use the Makeup Revolution Super Fix Super Hold Misting Spray. And after I spray my face with this, I'm going to go in with my Maybelline Fit Me Powder in the shade Deep. I'm going to use that all over my face. And I like a generous mist, and we're going to pat that in with a sponge, with a damp sponge. And then once that's kind of patted in, then we're going to get my Maybelline Fit Me and, you know, pat that around the face. I will say probably the biggest thing that has changed about my makeup routine is I'm no longer obsessed with being matte. I actually like, you know, being glowy and dewy and everything, but I still do this step to just kind of control the oils still, because there's glowy and there's dewy and then there's, you know, an oil slick, and any girl who is oily knows exactly what I'm talking about when I mean that oil slick. So the next thing I'm going to do is brows, and I no longer fill in my brows. My brows are pretty thick. I like the way my brows look, so I don't really fill them in anymore. So I just use a brow gel, which is new for me. I feel like I have said on this channel even that I would never use brow gels. I will never not fill in my brows, but lately I've just been, my brows have grown in really thick and really nicely, so I've just been like, let's just, you know, gel them down. So I'm using the Air Brow by Kosas. It's K-O-S-A-S. If you haven't picked up on that by now watching this channel, you know I can't pronounce anything. So there's that. So I'm gonna just gel down the brows. And it's definitely not clear. This brow gel is definitely not clear. It's definitely like a brown tone. Now that my brows are on, I'm gonna go ahead and start moving to the face. The biggest thing is I'm going to use as little like base product as possible. I've been making some major strides with my skincare and with my skin, and I feel like, you know, I have a couple of places that I want to cover for sure, but like the center of my face, I really like the way it looks, so I'm not gonna try to do too much. I say that and I'm about to show y'all the concealer I'm using, but so the concealer I'm using is the Too Faced Born This Way Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer. And I know it says super coverage, but I'm going to use so little of it that it's not going to make a difference. I'm going to use the shade Honey. I will say the shade Honey is definitely my more, my winter color. I think the next shade after this is Caramel, and Caramel is the shade that I actually use like in the summer. And I'm actually going to use the same line for my foundation, and my foundation is actually in the shade Chestnut. So there's that. I'm going to start using these two together. I'm actually going to start with concealing. So I'm going to use the tiniest amount of concealer you've probably ever seen. So I'm going to put a dot here, a dot here, and a dot here. I'm concentrating the color on the inside of my eye, because that's actually where my darkness is, and that's where I need the most amount of coverage. That is all I'm concealing, the slightest bit. And I'm probably about to piss some people off. I'm using my fingers. I no longer, well, I'm not gonna say I no longer use a sponge, but when I do this, my more like less beat kind of looks, I use my fingers, and I just feel like it melts the product so much better. Like, especially when I'm using small amounts. Like when I'm using more, like on my days where I want to look beat, like I want to look like I'm wearing product, which real life is far and few between now. Like on those days, I definitely, you know, still a sponge kind of girl, and we use a sponge to pat everything. Now don't get me twisted, when we put our foundation on, we're going to use a sponge, and we're going to make sure that all this is well blended, but just for the purposes of getting the concealer in place where I want it, I'm going to use my fingers. Also, you know, kind of like you would do your eye primers, use your ring finger and the slightest amount of pressure. And I feel like too, since I don't use a sponge, like with this, I can get away with wearing very, very little product and still getting a lot of coverage and payoff from the color. Because, you know, the sponge isn't, my fingers aren't soaking up product like a sponge would, you know. Also, I do tend to let this concealer sit for a little bit if I want like a stronger coverage, but since I don't want that today, I'm going to blend it out kind of quick, not quickly, but like immediately, I guess is the better word. So there you go. See, you can use a, like, I think also this kind of shows how you can use a full coverage concealer and still not get like, you know, not look like you have makeup on, you know, not look like you have a ton of makeup on, I guess I should say, because we're still gonna be looking like we got makeup on. Come on now, what's the point? So now I'm gonna go with my foundation, and I'm going to, I heard some other girls say this, I can't think of her name right now. If I can think of it by the time this video airs, I will try to put the name right here, but we're going to spot foundation instead of spot concealing. So I'm going to just squeeze some foundation on the back of my hand. I'm going to take a small angled brush, just put the foundation in the places I want to hide. So particularly, I have a very big dark spot on both of my cheeks right in here, and it kind of gives me some duress sometimes. I feel like you can really see it on this side. You can see how dark that area is. So those, I'm going to just kind of paint the foundation in those areas. I'm not going to do a lot. I'm going to add a little right here. I'm going to add some right along my chin. These are particular, like very particular areas for me. And like 2 dots on my nose. And then a little above my forehead. Right? And those are the only areas I'm going to, take it back, I'm going to put some right here too. Those are the only areas that I'm going to put foundation. And, you know, this kind of goes back to not wanting a full beat situation. And I'm going to use a sponge because I think a sponge helps with kind of moving the product and kind of patting it where I want it, versus a brush kind of like just smears it all over the face, you know? So yeah, I don't really put full faces of foundation on anymore. And there's nothing wrong if you do, but that's just not my jam anymore. And I almost forgot, I'm going to spray some setting powder in as I'm blending this out so that it works with the foundation to stay on my face even longer. And then blend it all together. And I will be blending the foundation right up to the concealer, really right up to my eye. I don't see anything wrong with that. Especially like when you're kind of also using so little product. It is important that, like, if you're going to use a little bit of product, make sure the make sure the product is blending together seamlessly. Because what we don't want is we don't want to get patchy just because we're using small amounts of product. Also, and I don't feel like I told y'all, but I got a dog and I absolutely love it, and I love him, and he's great and wonderful. If you would like a video of me talking about my dog and some things I've learned as like a first-time pet parent, I grew up with dogs and we had dogs at home, but you know, it's different when you get one by yourself. So if you're interested in that, you know, let me know. I would love to do a video like that. So now that the base is pretty much finished, we are gonna bronze, but I'm gonna wait to do that until I finish my hair and take my band off, and then that'll be our time to bronze, right? I'm going to powder, and the biggest part of my makeup step that has changed is I no longer bake. I found that not baking helps me, okay? I'm an oily person, right? I am an oily girl, but it is actually way better for me to take a small brush and some powder. This is the Fenty powder in the shade Cashew. Take a small brush and some powder and dust that girl on where she needs to go, and only where she needs to go. I have found doing it this way, I get less creasing, I get less oily, all of it. I just find that this works better for me, you know? And if it doesn't work for you, that's fine, but it works for me. And that's all we're giving for the base of the face. Next, we're gonna go to the eyes. I got a Natasha Denona palette in my BoxyCharm box. So I have been so excited to play with this, and I'm going to use it, but I'm also going to use the Lunar Beauty by Manny and Yue Nude Prism palette because, okay, first of all, packaging, gorgeous, beautiful, absolutely love it. But then I am obsessed with the color palette. Like I can actually use this whole palette. And I feel like, as most brown girls experience, that's usually not the case. You know, girl up here, this girl right here is cutting it a little close, but she might be cute for a little matte in a corner situation. You don't know. So I'm going to be using these two palettes to create my look for today. So I'm going to start with using an eye primer, and I'm going to use the Smashbox 24-Hour Photo Finish Shadow Primer. It's tacky and waxy. It's going to keep your eyelids, you know, dry, keep the color on. I think that's another thing I used to do. I don't think I used to use eyeshadow primers. I think I used concealer, like, you know, most people tell you to do via Instagram and YouTube. But, you know, if you're an oily girl, especially if you're an oily girl, I highly recommend an eyeshadow primer because, you know, I think we've, again, going back to that oil slick analogy, I think we've all also had the horrific experience of oily eyelids ruining beautiful eyeshadows. I have. If you haven't, you do not understand how blessed and lucky you are. Now that my eyelids are nice and mattified, I'm going to start with the Lunar Beauty palette, and I'm going to go into the shade Tease. I'm going to use that first as my base color. Just going into a fluffy brush. I like this color. It's slightly lighter than my skin, so it's going to give us some brightness. I like it. I'm going to go into the shade Bloom for You, which is like a really nice, it feels very purple. Feels like it's going to be a nice like purple brown color. Ooh, and it is. Love it. Love it. And we're going to just concentrate this on my outer corner of my eye. I will tell you, I put a little too much shadow on. These colors are pigmented, and it also helps that the eyeshadow base grabs onto color, right? So it's going to also, you know, help out your color a little bit. So, you know, if you were using like a cheaper palette, this palette's not cheap, but if you were using a cheaper palette, you could get some more color payoff out of your shadows by using a eye base. And then we're going to go back to my big fluffy brush and blend that together. Blending very nicely. I've also never used this palette before. I've never used a Lunar Beauty product ever. This also came in my BoxyCharm box, and she's giving. She's giving. So I think I'm actually going to, I think I'm actually going to stay in this palette instead of using the Natasha Denona palette. But I'm going to go into this middle shade Classic, and I'm going to put this in the center of my lid, just to add some brown back into the eyes. I like that this, like, it's got this kind of caramel color. It's a very good tone. I think that's what I like about this palette, is like these tones are so black girl friendly, especially this bottom, the middle row too, but especially this bottom row is so black girl friendly because it's deep, and these have really good like inner corner qualities about them. I really like this. And I'm not, you know, I ain't no Manny stan or anything like that. I don't got nothing against that man. So yeah, oof, yeah, loving, love it, love it, love it. And then we're going to take a small angled brush, and I think I'm going to pack on the color. I think I'm actually going to use the color Exposed, which is this kind of gold, kind of pink. I think it fits with like the direction we're taking with the eye. And oh, that's creamy. And we're gonna just do this on the inside, ever so slightly. I don't like using a lot of glitters on first dates, and that just blended in so pretty to the eyes. I feel gorgeous. And I'm gonna go back into Bloom For You and run a little bit of it just like on the outer corner of my waterline. And because this look turned out a little bit brighter than what when I was looking for initially, I'm going to take Classic and then just run it over the entirety of the lid to kind of mute the colors a little bit. I will say what I love is like as I'm layering this, it's not turning muddy whatsoever. Like you can still very much see that color. You can still very much see exactly what we were trying to do. Love it, love it, love it. Now we're gonna go into lips, and I'm going to keep it really simple. We're going to just do a nude lip today. So I'm going to use a lip liner by Evo Beauty. It's gonna be a little bit of a burnt red color. I'm gonna go in with the color Athens in the NYX matte lip creams. So my camera actually died and I changed my lip color because I wasn't happy with it. So I just ended up going with my favorite lip combination, which is this nude color from Nabla and their shimmery sparkly gloss on top of it for this look. I also pulled my hair down, styled my edges, kind of finished up my hair. And now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bronze, just so everything is all nice together and blended. And I'm actually going to use an angled brush for my bronzer, just so, I don't know, I just like an angled brush, and I like to like put the angle on my face and then brush up. So, and I think my favorite thing about this bronzer is when I was actually looking for it, I was kind of getting annoyed because I felt like the girl kept showing me like all these pale, like not for me bronzers, and I finally got over Fenty and I was like, okay. I was like really skeptical of this bronzer because I was like, oh, it's freaking purple. It's like this bronzer is purple. And then I was like, okay, girl, this is Fenty. Remember who you're dealing with. Rihanna would never have you out here looking like Barney's lesser known sister. And of course, it like works out beautifully. This bronzer is so close to my normal skin color that it just barely adds a little bit of sun kiss I need. Truly the last step is mascara. So I'm gonna use the Stila Huge Extreme Lash Mascara. I have never been a lashes girly. I'm quite frankly terrible at putting lashes on, so I don't even bother anymore. You know, I've just accepted that that's not my fate in life. I like this mascara. My biggest problem with it is it dries a little quickly, and if you like, you know, it's not very buildable. I'm gonna go get dressed. I'm really excited for this date. I'm really loving the way I look right now. So I'm gonna get dressed and wrap this video up finally. So this is the final look. Oh my god, no it's not, because I almost didn't put on highlighter. I don't care if we are doing minimal makeup, I'm gonna put on some dang highlighter. So the highlighter I'm gonna be using is gonna be from the Ofra Cosmetics palette that I got in my last BoxyCharm video. I've been using this thing like crazy, and I'm gonna use this gold one right here. And again, this is a fingers kind of day, so I'm just gonna use a tiny bit on my fingers to catch the light, and then we're going to set the face. And push all this into the face. Alrighty, and that is the final look, guys. Yeah, so my makeup routine has changed a lot. I'll try to do a side-by-side of my makeup from my first date video that I did like years ago, and then my first date video now, so you can kind of see how things have changed. I, you know, like the way I look. I feel like I still look, you know, I look like myself, but I look, you know, the 2.0 version of myself, right? So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you like this look. Hope you enjoyed hanging out with me, and please be sure to leave a like on this video and comment down below anything you would like to comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel on your way out. It would really mean a lot to me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye guys. Update, I just spent the last 3 hours getting ready, and I just got stood up for this date in the most disrespectful way possible. I got blocked. I look too good to not leave my house tonight, so I'm going to call my girlfriends and I'm gonna go somewhere and do something, and if they don't want to go, then I'm gonna go to this nice ass restaurant and eat by myself. Yeah, but I'm actually like, I'm kind of pissed about that, but it is what it is. All right, bye y'all.